This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the sunrise safari. However, I do not think there will be a sunrise. It's been a very eerie, spooky morning. The light that was cast over the landscape just about 20 minutes ago was so eerie and bizarre. Beautiful, but bizarre. It's overcast and, well, I don't know what type of day we're in store for. But good morning, my name is Lauren and I do have Owen Dell on camera with me today. There's not much ambient light and I definitely struggle with that. That's going to be a thing that works against me, but it's cool enough and it's dark enough at least for animals to be moving. This wind is just not let up. I'm desperate to do that sensory experience with you all, but it's just been windy every single day. Will it rain? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see until we see the weatherman. But before I forget, no matter what the weather, this safari is completely live and interactive. So please do talk to us. Send in interesting, wonderful questions if you want to know about the environment out here. Especially if we're not finding anything. Your questions help tick the drive along. And you can do that using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Or if you're on the website, as long as you've registered, you can submit your questions under the live safari page. And of course, kids, you are the most important. You're the future after all, so anything you want to know, you must ask us. And you send in your questions via email. And the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv.
Morning station. Anybody mobile in the east?
Good morning. People are mobile. So on that note, Owen, let's get mobile. I think we will get rain. If it's a drizzle, we can handle it. If it's a downpour, we can't. But let's see. Let's wait and see. But it is really cold. Surprisingly cold. I'm not complaining. I'm merely observing. Surprisingly cold for summer. Something just feels really off this past week. Taylor, you're saying rise and shine. It's another day and another sunrise safari. Absolutely, without the sunrise, but that's okay. Rise and shine. We've got our coffee on board, and I'm looking forward to it. Our luck has to change at some point. Although I had a fantastic drive yesterday. At Goliath Heron really was special for me. And of course all the elephants yesterday. Sometimes you've just got to spend a day. I remember last year where you could not drive any road without bumping into elephants. Even if you wanted to go to the eastern track, you just can't get there. And those days are also just so magical. But it's just, I don't know, something feels very bizarre. I can't quite put my finger on it these days. With the weather and the climate. Just something feels just off. But we're having the most fantastic sunsets, so I definitely cannot complain. It's important at this time of morning to listen as well. When we're sitting in camp doing checks, this is when you'll often hear alarm calls. We've raced out of camp before for alarm call, sawing, roaring, whooping. It's also important to just tune into what you're hearing as you go along. But we are going to check in on the hyena den. We had a lovely sighting yesterday, but it was not long enough. Okay, I think I've spoken enough already about the weather, but let's see what the real weatherman has to say.
Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to greet all of you this morning. I am sitting on my way up Vuyatela Access, and we've stopped at a very scenic fallen tree because we are looking to see where Cara might have gone this morning. We have indeed got some very strange weather, and we've had some very unusual colours in the last 3 days in particular. And it seems as though the drizzle has already started coming down this morning. We have got some rain coming, and we're expecting more and more weather throughout the day as we go right through to tonight and through the night to tomorrow. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari here this morning. Behind the camera is Gert. And we are currently going to have a look a little bit further north to see if we can find Miss Cara. I was very lucky to find her last night, and she was on quarantine, very happily lazing around on a termite mound. And so we've been checking all of the trees this morning, and we've done a little loop around quarantine, and it looks like her tracks cut back north. We were quite surprised to see it was Cara, considering how far south it was. She is normally much more towards our northwestern corner instead of the center of Djuma, but it was a lovely surprise. And so my plan for the morning is to carry on towards Gowrie Gate. I just want to check all along the access road and see if we can find her tracks coming out there. We did also have some exciting bush traveling news last night when we heard the lions calling. Between 9 and 9:30 they started calling last night. And it sounds like they were actually coming also from the area of Gowrie Gate. So I'm wondering if that might have maybe been the Talamatis that might be on the move. As I was driving and as I was relaxing when I got back, it sounded like the calls were getting closer and closer. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, heading towards Sandy Patch and then back down towards Impala Plains, that we might find the lion tracks coming in from Triple M. So all in all, I'm hoping for a very much big cat morning. We'll see how it goes. Because of the strange weather, and because we know we're expecting it to start raining within the next half an hour, I'm not sure what we'll find this morning. I don't think there'll be as many flowers and insects as we're hoping for. But we'll see how it goes. So far in terms of tracking, I have found some hyena tracks on the road. They have been going up and down, so I was hoping that might mean, especially they were a lot around quarantine, that maybe Cara had a kill from quarantine last night. But no such luck yet. We were scanning the trees quite carefully. But for now, I'm just checking for tracks of either the leopard or the lions, and we'll see how it goes. We are lucky in the sense that it is nice and cool this morning. So hopefully if we do find any predators, they might still be moving around. It actually made me think last night, the last time that I saw Cara, I'm sure some of you will remember, the last time I saw Cara, she had been treed by the wild dogs on Vuyatela Access very close to the gate. So I've got that playing in my mind while I'm driving up this way, wondering what we're going to find this morning. I think either way we're in for a fun morning. We never know what the bush is going to surprise us with. James Richard, I hope so as well, and thank you again for confirming the ID of Cara last night. I really appreciate it. We had a sneaking suspicion it might have been her, myself and Owen, but seeing her on quarantine threw us a little bit. It would be absolutely lovely to see where she's ended up, what she's done through the night. My thinking is that because there were no impalas up on quarantine, they had seen her at some point and they cleared because there were literally no animals in quarantine other than Kara. So possibly, you know, with there being impalas there this morning, she maybe ended up moving off before she could actually try and find any food there because the impalas would have known she was there. I think her tactic when we found her was just to rest and see what came along, because other animals through the night would have been coming into the open area looking for a little bit of safety. But no such luck on a drag mark or anything like that. It looks like she was just heading straight back into the block and coming in this direction. So we are tracking as much as we can. One thing with this weather is it does make it a little bit more tricky. So it sounds strange, but sometimes putting the headlight on helps because it creates a shadow on the road. And then you can see the tracks a bit easier, especially in areas where the soil is a bit harder. But so far it looks as though she went maybe towards Treehouse Dam and then north from there. And so that's part of my route. Quickly going to check all the way to the gate and then come back along Impala Plains, because that might have been the route she would have had to take back towards here or back west. I'm also hoping, because it's a nice cool day, that I might actually be lucky enough to maybe get a glimpse of warthogs that don't run away. We'll see how it goes. Wish me luck for my trekking this morning. Okay, so I'm seeing some hyena tracks on the road that look very fresh. I'm wondering if they know something we don't, because it's more than one track. It's quite a few. Looks like it rained here as well at some point. There are quite a few hyena tracks going up the road. Maybe Kara's come this way. So what I'm looking for, I'm scanning through the brush to see a white tail, curved and hopefully flicking, and the black and white ears flicking through the grass. And then we're also scanning the trees as we go to make sure we're not missing a carcass or a leopard. That would be better. And I'm almost up at Gari Gate now. So I'll check these tracks again. Still hyena tracks. Doesn't look like they were running, it looks like they were just walking up the road, so they knew where they were going, but they didn't have to get there at speed. Maybe just out patrolling for some food. Right, come on, Kara. She saved the day yesterday. Maybe we'll be lucky and she'll pop her head out again this morning. Certainly hope she does. How exciting would it be to have Miss Kara pop her head up and stick around for the morning? I think it would definitely make everybody's day. Just seeing a glimpse of her last night made my week.
The hyena train wasn't active, I'm afraid, and we've literally just... No, this cat. This is our little crested barbet friend. You got him on?
Yeah.
Every time we drive past, he's singing. Can you hear? Well, I hope you can hear. It's constant. Holding his territory. I'm just gonna be quiet for a moment or two and let you hear this barbet and all the other bird calls of the morning. Danny, you seem so small. Yet so loud.
Money mobile station, turn up there.
I know. I think it's the same one. They are territorial. And every time I come past here, this little guy is singing. Constant shrill. Non-stop. And it probably is a little bit energetic expensive for him, but he's actually equipped with special airwaves to produce his sound for really long periods of time.
Looks like his teeth are chattering. Looks like his teeth are chattering in the cold.
No, Owen! Owen's saying he's just chattering from the cold. Also possible. It's amazing, really, it's amazing. I hear him every single time. And sometimes you can hear the call but not actually see where the bird is. I didn't get that question, I've seen. Owen. Okay. Sandra's territorial. So he's waking up, he's early, And he's saying, I'm still here. Nothing happened during the night. And I'm still here. This is my territory. So to us, bird calls are like a melody. It's beautiful to listen to. Maybe about 90% of all bird calls. Not all. Hadidad is definitely not up there. But he's just saying, I'm still here. It's just his way of holding his territory. Some bird calls are to attract females. And some are naturally alarm calls. But generally speaking, this is territory. I'm still here. Keep out, keep away. Okay. I don't want to leave this guy, but there's also a few areas I want to check. I'm sure this is the end of the same bird. I mean, I can't say conclusively, but I'm sure this is the same bird that I've had numerous times now. And this is his little turf, his little patch. Birds' territories can be really, really small, but they're territorial. My goodness, I feel like I've just not woken up properly and my eyes are not working, but it's not. There is just no light. So update on the Bamba, no ingwe and no nyama, which means no leopard, no meat.
Morning stations, I'm getting mobile.
So there is nothing. So someone came back in the night. Everyone's been calling it in as Maribs, but as you know, that doesn't really reflect his behavior. But I don't know. Tandy was also known for carrying multiple or having multiple kills in the trees. So did he have another one and nobody saw it? Or was it a different leopard like Mowati? I really don't know. I would be speculating, but everyone was calling it Marib's Bamba. But it's no longer there, and no leopard and no meat. It was a mystery that sort of goes unsolved. Okay. I'm going to keep bumbling east, I think, and we're going to send you guys over to Tessa.
So I've come down Triple M a little bit, and I just wanted to come and check the pan system. It seems like yesterday the Talamatis were somewhere close to this pan, so I figured this is a good bet just to come and have a look, see if we can find any fresh tracks and see where they may have gone from here. But it is nice and peaceful here this morning. It seems just birds that are calling around us, and you can just see a little bit of the raindrops on the surface of the water. So it's a very nice gentle drizzle this morning, perfect for the cats to be out in the open or moving around. So this is the area where I heard them calling from last night. And what I'd like to do while we're here and just taking in a bit of the scenery is just have a little bit of a listen. Martin, I'm so happy that you love nature, and yes, it's a very peaceful scene. The only break from the pan is that little dot of white in the gory, which is a foam nest, frog's nest, you can see on the other side. But while we are sitting here, let's just have a listen to a bit of the dawn chorus. Let's have a listen if we can hear any signs of the lions. Maybe we will get lucky. I just want to take a small amount of time, take in a bit of the peaceful scene. There really are some lovely bird calls this morning. There are a few birds sounding a little bit unhappy behind me, which is further south. Frederick, in this little pan you would find things like frogs, also a lot of aquatic invertebrates, so things like dragonfly larvae, perhaps mosquito larvae, those kinds of invertebrates, tadpoles, as well as things like possibly white-faced whistling ducks, Egyptian geese, blacksmith lapwings around the edge. So it'll go right the way from aquatic invertebrates and insects up to the regular water birds and wading birds. And of course a lot of frogs, a lot of amphibians you would find here. When we got here there was a white-faced whistling duck, but it was not very relaxed and it flew off straight away. And so at the moment there's no bird life directly around this little pan, but you can hear a lot of birds around us. I would also imagine this must be a very popular little pan for things like impalas, warthogs, elephants, buffaloes, rhinos, all sorts of lovely animals that would come down and get some water, but also possibly cool off, especially things like buffaloes would actually sit in a pan like this, old buffalo bulls, to try and calm the joints a bit as they're getting older, but also just to try and cool off that big body with such dark hair. I was hoping we would find the lions here, but I think they have gone a bit further south. So I'm going to be checking along Triple M before I head towards Impala Plains and Impala Road to see if I can find their tracks crossing anywhere. I could actually imagine during the night a leopard coming down from the other side to have a drink. Got a little flock of birds that has just landed in the tree over here. Looks like they might be quellias. Okay, we are going to spend a little bit more time here and just see what happens. And hopefully we will be able to pick up on some sounds of the lions. I just want to watch what they do. It's not often that you get them sitting still. They're normally flying in massive flocks, making patterns in the sky. Let's just take a little bit of time to listen and watch their movements as they're blowing in that breeze up in the tree. There they go in their flock. Very typical quelea movement, being in a large flock and moving as one. You can tell there is still a very light drizzle just breaking the surface of the water, but it also seems like the breeze is picking up. A really tranquil scene here this morning. I'm particularly enjoying being able to hear the cisticolas. I can hear a sunbird in the distance. A lot of doves. Just all of the different bird sounds this morning that are coming up. I'm sure as the day goes on, the bird calls will get better. Hopefully it gets a little warmer for them. But we are actually expecting it to get colder and more rainy, so we will have to see how that goes for the birds. Maybe we'll be lucky and have a few glimpses of them here and there. But it's time for me to carry on down the boundary.
Good morning and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands. We decided to move to the top of a crest and look at what's going on below us. We'll be scanning the line and the tree line to see if there's any other species other than impala that's moving around at the moment. We've not been very fortunate and I haven't finding anything so far. So my name is JP LaRue. Behind the camera we've got Darby. At the moment we're also just looking at what the weather is doing. We see that the clouds are rolling in very quickly, as well as it looks like if we are actually going to get rain this morning. It's quite a nice change after incredibly warm and few days, but we have got some cooler weather that's coming our way. So our plan for this morning is that we're going to make a way down to one or two of the dams, see what's happening over there, and see if we can locate maybe on some elephant this morning, and hopefully a giraffe or two. And meanwhile, we're just going to do a short silence segment and allow you to enjoy the beauty of the landscape and look at the surrounding area and listen to the different sounds in the background. Good morning, Cara, and welcome to the show. I'm just going to turn my head out of the wind. That wind doesn't muffle the mic. It's absolutely a stunning landscape, and it definitely will make a beautiful laptop picture. There's so many beautiful little spots all over Pridelands, which I just love, especially at sunrise and at sunset. It also makes such good little pictures for backdrops. There's quite a few of them that I've saved, and I've also put them on my laptop. Well, we're going to start heading off and go and see what we can go and find. But in the meanwhile, let's go and see what Lauren has.
We haven't been so lucky in our search so far. We did have a big musk bull. Elephant, that is. You could smell him for miles. It was delicious. But sadly he turned and went into Little Gowrie. So I'm just checking the east. Any tracks? Anybody moving? And unfortunately that is the only update I have. I like to know where animals move. I find animal movement fascinating. On a daily basis, on an annual basis, on a migration basis. But do send in your questions to keep us going. The weather is, I don't even know how to describe it. We now have blue sky. Fiona, come out from where? Where do you think they are? Animals are not in anywhere. So we get asked these questions a lot. Where do the animals hide when it's raining? Where do they go when it's hot? But you have to remember, this is a completely natural setting. This is not a zoo. This is not captivity. Obviously there are some man-made structures, but this is a completely wild space. And we complain about the weather because we're human, and it is just what we do. But animals are used to this weather. It is just weather. Some days are hot, some days are cold, some days are windy, some days are rainy. And yes, you will find on heavy downpour, some animals do try to sort of seek some sort of shelter. But look, where's the shelter? Some might hide in the thicket, especially in summer. You might get a little bit of cover. You'll find that birds go into the most dense trees and again try and get cover, but you're still going to get wet. And no animal comes out when it's windy. That makes sense. You'll find that wind might affect their behavior, especially animals like predators and especially elephants. You'll notice that it impacts their behavior because it's affecting their senses, but it's not going to make them come in or out of anywhere. I don't know if I'm making much sense, but all of these weather patterns, all of these changes are essentially normal. Yes, there's absolutely no denying the world's climate is changing. I don't think anyone can deny that anymore. For whatever reason, you can argue, but the world's climate is definitely changing, and what we are noticing is natural disasters and severe climatic events are increasing in frequency and intensity. But that's a separate issue. Out here, weather is normal. We don't like driving in the wind. I don't like driving in the wind, that's for sure. I don't really like, that's my least favorite type of weather, but that's a very, very human attitude and a human perception. So you will find that severe weather would alter behavior, but it's not going to bring animals out or put them in anywhere. There really is nowhere to go. I've had lots of soggy sightings with animals that just get wet. Tandy was the best. We sat with her for hours. I had my rain roof on and we were all boxed in, and she just sat there with this look on her face. You know Tandy. And she was just getting wet in the rain, waiting for it to finish so she could shake the water off and go about her day. So Fiona, I hope that sort of answered your question. Weather is just weather. Elephants do react, and predators can sometimes try and use wind and storms to their advantage, absolutely, because they're opportunistic. Prey may huddle together because they're a little bit scared, so on a behavioural level, yes, but on a sort of coming out, this doesn't really work like that. I thought I could smell an elephant there. Linda, I think. No, I haven't seen a caracal on Juma, unfortunately. I'd love to. I'd really love to. I believe Taylor did. Can't remember what year it was. Taylor saw a caracal on Juma once. I have never. I would really, really love to. I have seen them before, but sadly not in Juma. There are a lot of animals we don't see here, but they have been spotted years ago randomly. Rexon saw a brown hyena here. I think it was in 2008 or something crazy like that. Taylor saw a caracal once. An aardvark was spotted quite recently, actually, by someone up in Buffelshoek. But really, these sightings are few and far between. So no caracal, I'm afraid. Okay, I'm now in the area I want to be. So I am going to really focus on the road, and you guys are going to head over to Tessa.
Yeah,
Okay, so it seems like things are going downhill for me, everybody. For some reason, I seem to be shrinking every time I get into Rusty. So initially a cushion was enough for me to be able to drive Rusty properly. Then we had to up the ante and put on a blanket, a very thick winter blanket. Now it seems that the blanket is not enough either. I've had to move my seat forward and I've had to fold the blanket in half again, so it looks like a roll or a sausage. I'm sitting on that and I'm hoping that that stays the way it should for now, so that I don't feel quite as short. Because you don't realize how much space there can be, unless you're jaunty. Jaunty, of course, takes up the space. Lauren and I don't. But you don't realize how much space there is here until you've got to try and sit in it and make it work. So I'm feeling very, very short today. I'm about to turn onto Impala Plains, so I want to come and check the open clearing where I thought maybe we might have some luck. Doesn't seem like there are any lion tracks coming in at all, so I think they went further south on Simambili, and maybe they've crossed further south on Triple M. So I'll be doing a bit of a loop this morning just to see what we can find. So far, we are finding a lot of wind and some hyena tracks. Sorry FC, I'm having some issues with my comms. Could you possibly repeat the question for me? I'm just plugging into a different port. Let's see if that helps. Sarah, no, we're not normally able to differentiate the different line calls of the prides. And that would be because it's not just the males that roar. The whole pride can actually roar, including the females and the sub-adults. So we can't count them and say, okay, dark mane versus the two evokers versus, say, the Mbali male. All line calls sound very similar. The only way we can try and differentiate is if we can try and figure out a location. So we use a method called triangulation, which is the easiest way to do it. If I stand and listen, I can pinpoint the direction that I think it's coming from, and then if I move and listen again, I can pinpoint the direction again. Or it actually works easier if we can spread out two separate vehicles or two completely different locations, and you listen and you can see where those directions cross and you think it's there. And then based on the territory that it's coming from, then you can try to make I guess a calculated guess or an educated guess on which pride it might be, which is why I was saying I think it was the Talamati pride calling last night, because I know they were somewhere on Simambili last night on One-Eyed Pan Road, and so the direction the calls were coming from was between Gari Gate and One-Eyed Pan. To me, that's what it sounded like, and so I'm making an educated guess that was probably the Talamatis that were calling last night, and not the Kuhumas, which have been further south towards Chitwa, Little Gari and Gari Main. So that's kind of the only way we can differentiate between the different calls, unless there's something very unique about a particular lion's voice box and the whole call sounds different. You wouldn't be able to differentiate between the different lions calling. Good morning, boys. And one girl. That's quite unusual. So it looks like we've got a little bachelor herd of impalas with one female tagging along, and I think she's tagging along for safety, trying not to stay too exposed. She's right at the back, she's just run off. And I would imagine on a day like today, when it's so windy and it's overcast and it's cool, the impalas are really not going to be feeling very confident. They're going to feel quite nervous. Hello, gorgeous boy. So that is one thing about this weather. It does mean that we can appreciate their colors a little bit better, because the harsh sunlight often makes it a bit more difficult. But I do appreciate spending a bit of time with impalas every day. They can teach us a lot, they can show us a lot, and they really are a beautiful animal. But I'm going to sit with them for a little bit longer, have a listen in case we can hear anything, and we will see how it goes from there.
We're just heading to a little pan down here, and when I get there, I just want to sit and listen. Although it's very windy, we still should be able to pick up sounds if the sounds exist. It's a productive little pan, actually. It's empty in winter, but in summer it fills up. So we're just going to stop next to it and have a listen together for a moment or two. Hopefully the wind is not too strong. Will this work, Owen?
Morning, stations. Do you copy me? Morning, Zeneba. Good
Isn't
morning.
it so lovely just to sit and watch?
I've got Ingwe and Mapimpan here on the southern side of Chitwa East on the road going to Jackpan. Copy.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We're busy looking at a number of vultures that are now resting up in a tree. So at the moment the temperatures are quite cool and there's no heat that can create thermals for these birds for today. So they're most likely going to be stranded out here for quite a while. If it does heat up eventually, if the crowds do move away, that might mean that they have the opportunity to go and feed. But to try and fly without thermals will mean that you have to spend a lot of energy in terms of wing beats. A few things that I do find particularly interesting about vultures. Some of those aspects we already pointed out yesterday, the bare head, which enables them to get their head right into carcasses without contaminating the feathers with blood and a number of other parasites that can form around it. We also mentioned that they are pretty clean birds and they love to go and bathe. And you'll often see them bathing in large groups, especially in warm days after they've been feeding at a carcass. It's one of the things that I also do find particularly sad is that they're actually one of the most neglected species out here when it comes to conservation and people being aware of how endangered they are. And if we don't have vultures, we'll have a massive problem in many of our conservation areas, and it's a must to protect these species. And one of the things that we will find is that there will be an increase in a number of diseases if we lose our vulture population, which can have a drastic knock-on effect on the well-being of the whole ecosystem. Good morning, Dean, and welcome to the show. And with regards to your question, they are social bird species when it does come to carcasses. However, with some species, when it comes to nesting, they'll be solitary nesters. And then with certain species like Cape vulture, they will be social nesting species where they nest on cliff faces against the Drakensberg Mountains. Well, we're going to move on and go and see what else we can go and find. Well, we move on and go and see what we can go and find, and let's go and see what Tessa has.
So we've moved a little bit further north up Impala Road and found a herd of impalas, and it seems that something has given them a fright, and so everybody is looking rather nervous or skittish. And the bachelor herd we saw earlier with the one female has now integrated into this herd. They came running over and they've joined up. So for now, as much as this is the dominant male and he's been herding the females around, he is tolerating the other males for safety. It's not the rutting season yet, and so he can tolerate the other males close by, provided that they don't push their luck too much. But for now, more eyes and more ears is a little bit more important in weather like today. Although they do look very relaxed, with any movement of birds around, they've been fleeing. They've been moving around this clearing that we're in very quickly. So we definitely have some very unhappy impalas this morning. I just want to listen in case I can hear what they've heard. It might have just been a different bird call. It might have been an alarm call. We are just scanning behind us as well while we're sitting here to make sure. Greg, so a male impala becomes a dominant male by defeating the current dominant male, and that happens in the rutting season. But that being said, young male impalas from around 2 years old are normally forced out of the family group. They then join a bachelor herd for safety. And within that bachelor herd, year-round, you can see them sparring with each other, fighting, and practicing different dominance displays. And this will give them a set hierarchy even in the bachelor herd. By the time the rut comes, they should have a pretty good idea of where they stand in terms of dominance. And then, for example, that male, to come and take over this herd, would then have to defeat the other males in the bachelor herd during the rutting season. This is when impalas are at their weakest, actually, thanks to all of the fighting. The male impalas are at their weakest. And then he will have to find a herd he wants to take over and fight with the dominant male. And once he's fought with the dominant male of that herd, or the harem, and defeated him, he can then take over dominance of that harem. Then he will have to defend it. So once he's had to fight for it, he then has to defend it. And only once he's become dominant will he be able to mate with the females. That being said, if there are a few male impalas hanging around, you will actually find that occasionally one will take a chance right on the edges or the outskirts of the herd if there is an opportunity. And there might be 1 or 2 males that do actually manage to mate with females. Goodness, even the Swainson spurfowl is nervous this morning. Extra set of eyes for the impalas. And for the spurfowl, it's actually in a great position to have 50 sets of extra eyes and ears and noses. So because we are coming up to the rutting season, we are seeing more and more males that are starting to fight with each other. It's quite an unusual scene. The spurfowl definitely doesn't seem to mind the impalas there. Dark-maned lover, I agree, they are looking really healthy and still very strong at the moment as well, because we've had quite a bit of rain. There's a lot of greenery, there's a lot of grass, and impalas have the advantage of having what we nickname a split lip, so they can browse and graze. And so they really are looking very healthy and absolutely gorgeous. It's so nice seeing such a large herd together, because everywhere you look there's activity, there's tails flicking, there's ears moving. Oof, and on days like today I should say, everybody gets nervous, and so it's almost like they move in unison. So the call that the spurfowl's making at the moment, just to clarify with everybody, this is not an alarm call or anything like that. The impalas have not reacted. The alarm call sounds different. This spurfowl is actually calling other spurfowls. It's advertising where it is. It's high up on a termite mound at the moment, actually. A little termite mound that's sticking out underneath the quarry. And it's actually just advertising to other spurfowls. So this is a male. You can see the red section underneath the chin. And he's most likely just asserting his dominance in this area. Letting everybody know this territory is taken. I am here, don't come in. So the rain is certainly picking up. The spurfowl's in a lucky spot. It's underneath a quarry that's quite thick. But I'm sure the impalas are going to start huddling together quite soon to try and escape it. Let's see how accurate our weather was. What's the time? It's 6:30. Yep, we were expecting rain from after 6. Very, very accurate this morning. So these impalas, now that it's raining, are probably going to be more and more nervous as the time goes on. As much as it looks like they're all heads down and feeding, they're still watching. There's still a good few that always have their heads up, and it's normally the males. If you have a look at the herd, the males are normally the ones that have their heads up most, because it is a dominant male's responsibility to keep the herd in check and keep them safe. Even the bachelor herd, although they're intruding at the moment in a sense, they will also feel the need to protect the herd because they might be the next person or the next impala to take it over. And so they're going to be on high alert the whole day, especially this rain is supposed to get harder and harder. They're going to be more and more alert as the day goes. So you can imagine they look relaxed, but it's probably going to be a bit of an exhausting day for the impalas today. But I do just want to spend a little bit of time listening while we're here and just watching. It is quite an unusual scene to have a spurfowl right next to the impalas like that. So I just want to spend a bit of time and see what happens before I move on towards Sandy Patch again.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We're just turning the vehicle around. We just want to go and have a closer look at where we heard a tree squirrel that was busy alarm calling. Quite often when they do alarm, there's a good reason for it. It might be anything from a mongoose, a snake, or even a leopard. And let's go and see what we can go and find. That's roughly the area where we heard our squirrel alarm calling. We're just going to see if we can maybe spot him and see which direction he's looking at. You can actually hear him calling right there at the top somewhere now. And that's a tree squirrel. That we're just going to continue moving on and see what he's looking at. Most likely it's something down here at the bottom. But he's got quite a good view of the surrounding area. Tree squirrels isn't the only animals that help us. Anything from rock hyraxes, species like klipspringer, a host of other antelope species, livet monkeys and baboons are also excellent indicators of potential predators on the ground.
Yes, we are definitely getting more and more nervous by the minute over here with these impalas. They've just done a full sprint again from one side of the clearing to the other. They're now in the road in front of us. And I'm not sure what caused them to panic. I don't know if one of them heard something and maybe falsely alerted the others. But we are getting very, very jumpy over here. I'm sure you can hear the rain. It's picked up quite a lot. And I think that has everything to do with it this morning. So if you can hear us moving around, we're just getting our rain covers, just so that we can make sure the screens and monitors and equipment don't get too wet while we watch these impalas. It does look like there's a bit more golden light, so there is actually a little bit of sun breaking through the clouds, but the rain is harder than it has been all morning, which is a bit confusing for the mind. But this is what we would call a monkey's wedding here in South Africa. Alright, my monitor is covered. Renata, yes. Female impalas will accept new dominant males. It's not the same as with things like lions, where if there's a new male, the lionesses might fight back if they've got young cubs or anything. Because of how quickly the impala lambs grow and because of the numbers, they're not worried about a new male coming in, because to them a new male means stronger genes. If he's managed to defeat the old male, he's stronger, he's more dominant now, which means his genes might be stronger, and you want that for your lambs. So they will willingly accept a new male. That being said, there's always the odd female, even with a dominant male that's been there for a year, that every now and then will stray from the herd, and you'll see the male has to run out and chase her back in, and sometimes she just doesn't want to listen. So there's always the exception to the rule. But that's just a bit of, straying in independence as opposed to fighting a dominant male, maybe just not necessarily listening. So it does look like the herd is slowly moving back towards the road. At the moment they're actually scattered between a few little bushes in the clearing, and we can only really see some of the males from the bachelor herd. All of the females and youngsters are very well hidden, and all of the lambs are going to be somewhere in the middle in their little nursery to try and keep them safe. You'll see we don't have a very clear view there. We can just see scattered impalas through a few of the gaps. Most of the females are still heads down and feeding. You'll probably find this is because they're more worried. Well, not, I wouldn't say worried. Their main focus at the moment is still to try and get enough nutrients in every day, because the lambs are still feeding, they're still nursing. So the mothers are still having to produce a bit of milk, and so they need to make sure they're feeding a bit more regularly. It's why the males tend to do a lot of the watching at this time of the year, to make sure that they can keep the herd safe in between feeding. They're not needing the strength yet of the rut, which is coming up only in May. And so they can use this time to protect the females while they're still producing milk. Okay, I'm going to carry on towards Sandy Patch and just see if we can find any tracks of those lions or of Kara. While I head off in that direction, it sounds like Lauren is on Chitwa. Let's go have a look what she's up to.
Well, the rain has started at our side.
Okay, Liz.
It's just a drizzle, to be honest, but it started. So we've just covered up just in case it gets heavier. We thought we were going to have Kuchava and daughter for you, but sadly they just crossed into our nets. So they're right on that southern boundary of Chitwa, but now technically not on Chitwa. That's the story of my life with Kuchava, but I was very lucky the other day, very, very lucky, so I'm not complaining. Even though it's dark and overcast and gloomy, Chitwa's still glorious. Birds are still chirping, fish eagles still perched, buffalo weavers are still busy, hippos are surfacing momentarily before going back down again. It's still a wonderful place to be. Lisa, you say you're enjoying this drive. You hope the rain doesn't ruin it. I know. The clouds look heavy, but I don't know what they hold. We knew that rain is in store for today, but I don't know how much is going to fall during this drive, so we need to make the most of it. But we're prepared. We're ready. The worst thing is being caught unprepared. That's not fun. I'm trying to think of my next move. They do believe they are all saying it's Marib's. According to the radio, that is Marib's Bamba. And they're saying that he's still in the area. Nobody's found him just yet. So I just wonder if we take a casual sort of bumble along Gowrie Main, have a look for him. Gowrie Main's, for me, the best boundary line. I've just always had such wonderful sightings there. I can hear those Egyptian geese non-stop. They just always have something to say. And I love the fact that there's all this vegetation in the water. It's creating quite a different niche, quite a different habitat for Chitwa Dam. Everything has just flourished. There was lots of algal blooms around Chitwa for a while. It was quite stagnant. But with the rains, there's this sort of influx of new water. The water is oxygenated and it's obviously given rise to life. Not quite a river, but the rains will bring life. I know it's windy, but I'm trying to do my best to let you hear all the birds, and the buffalo weavers are just going crazy in there. If the skies were to open and heavy rain fell, it would be silence. Everything would just go immediately silent. No sign of Tlalamba crossing back. We checked Cheetah Cut line. It's just a little bit unfortunate. She will come back one day. Just when? Safari Kitty, you're saying dark and gloomy, but so beautiful. Absolutely. You gotta love this type of weather also. I'll never forget the storms. I think it must have been 2 years ago now. Those incredible storms. We couldn't go and drive for a number of days. And roads were flooding, roads were closed, land was sliding. We were all worried about Gowrie Dam overflowing. I mean, there is an overflow, but you've also got to be careful that dam walls don't burst and the overflow causes damage and erosion to parts of the land that you don't want it to. But we couldn't go and drive for a number of days, and lo and behold, that's when Tlalamba killed right outside camp. So you see we have that yellow DRC sign, Juma Research Camp. I'm sure some of you know it. That is right outside our camp. That's the entrance to our camp. And Tlalamba killed there. I can't remember what it was. I would really be lying if I said I can guess impala. And those were the days when Tlalamba and Tingana used to regularly be seen together, and Tingana actually came and stole it. I think he was following her scent at this time more than anything else, and the two of them were there. So when we finally went out of camp just to check, is quarantine okay, and just to have a look, we saw Tingana in the tree, and then we looked down and there was Tlalamba at the bottom in the huff as usual. And that had all to happen while we were locked in camp and literally couldn't move. I'd never seen a dam so full. The rains were unbelievably torrential, and I'll never forget that. We couldn't go running, couldn't leave camp. I mean, there are 2 leopards there. Just want to keep my ear on the radio in case Kutrava does she's on that boundary line, so she may just switch trajectory, and come this way. Okay, we're gonna sit at Chetwa Dam just a little bit longer and make a plan on where to go next.
I've just left my little impala herd and I am bumbling along towards Sandy Patch, hoping to find some of the predators. I know that there is a brown snake eagle that likes to hunt in this area, so I'm not going to even get to see it. But at the moment it seems as though the weather is playing havoc with some of the animals. I think they're going to be hiding. But we'll see how it goes. We have got a little bit of golden light filtering through again as the sun is breaking through the clouds in one patch. And then it's raining down on us, so we've got our rain covers on for Rusty. So it's a little bit deceiving every time the sun starts coming out. I'm coming up to another clearing, and I'm just going to be scanning along the edges again. This is normally a pretty good flower area actually, so we normally get a lot more birds and insects along here. But that might not be the case today with the weather. Definitely have a lot of cloud building up today. I think we are going to be in for quite a chilly day. It's going to be quite cold. Little red-billed buffalo weaver flying out the road. Actually the perfect day for wild dogs to be moving. Maybe myself and Hat will get lucky and we might find them. Oh, imagine how wonderful that would be. It would be the best thing of the month. My favorites. But we will see how it goes. Hopefully.
So it looks like Kuchava's moving in a direction that works for us. So Mr. Dylan is assisting me. So I am just going to keep this radio on. Once you miss your turn, you miss your turn. And hopefully we get to see her. Kuchava naturally is part of our royal lineage, but just her movements don't entirely allow for us to always see her. Thank goodness we can traverse Chitwa. It really opens that window to us to see other characters, other leopards. And Kuchava's daughter is becoming really relaxed because Semba, her older son, who's now sort of nomadic and independent, he really was a difficult cub in the sense that he just never seemed to be relaxed around vehicles, and they were always very cautious on how many vehicles to allow into the sighting with Simba. You had to be really careful with them. Even as an adult, he behaves a bit like Mulwati-ish when you see him, that is. And it appears that Kuchava's daughter this time around is really relaxed. There's a multitude of reasons that Simba could not have been relaxed, but still, he just wasn't. When I worked with Ali, goodness, a few stints back, that was a really good stint. We had epic sightings, and we had Simba on Juma numerous times. The sun's trying to burst through. But to be honest, although I'm not a lover of driving in the rain, I do feel we need more water. I mean, the dams are full, yes, but I do feel that some things have still to flourish. Is the insect life waiting on more moisture? There's something missing. Did you see the jacana that just landed on? I love these birds.
Stand by. Standing by. Watch your lock. 6 pan open. Copy. Coming on Maricela.
Susie, not that I'm aware of. I mean, you can see the jacana's busy. Buffalo weavers are busy. Fish eagles doing as usual. I mean, when the rain hits, like I mentioned earlier, they may seek shelter in the tree or somewhere that they can just hide under a rock, or they won't. Most birds don't take flight in torrential rain, but they can still fly in drizzle. Wouldn't really say they behave that differently. And if it's a torrential storm with really strong winds, then they will just take to the tree or somewhere and just sit there and wait it out, absolutely. Ooh, the sun is coming out. This is good news. But the wind is still really, really strong.
Confirm open, Dylan.
Recovery, thank you.
Dee, you must be new to watching us for sure. There are lots of hippos in Chitwa Dam. Lots and lots and lots. It's one dam where we actually get the most hippos in our area of traverse. I'm not saying it as the most hippos in the Sabi Sands or anything like that. I'm saying on our sort of traverse, which is Juma and Chitwa, this is the dam that has the most hippos. And would you believe it, from this angle I can't see any. I don't want to go up onto the dam wall because I think if we do, it's going to be far too windy. Really windy once we're kind of sheltered a little bit here. But yes, there are a lot of hippos in this dam. Lots of different sort of social units as well. But on that note, as the sun is bursting through, we are going to send you guys over to Tessa.
So we have been lucky enough to bump into a gorgeous elephant bull that is feeding on some marulas here on quarantine. You can see the rain roof, so if he keeps moving, I will have to move a bit again. But this is actually quite an unusual looking elephant bull. We've been having a look at his legs in particular, and he's structured a little bit differently to most elephants. Not in a massive way, it's not an obvious difference where you're looking at him thinking there's something wrong. But if you have a look at his front legs as he's turning, he's got a lot smaller of a rib cage and a lot longer front legs, not long legs, front legs, than most elephant bulls that we see here. He definitely seems to be structured slightly differently, but he is absolutely gorgeous. And you might find it's an adaptation so that he can move longer distances, or maybe he's going to have bigger tusks at some point. And so he might actually be better adapted than some elephant bulls, you never know. But it just looked unusual as we were driving up. He looks like the front of his body is much higher up than most elephant bulls. He has got some really decent tusks already. They're nice and white and clean and fairly long. And I would say this bull is at least 25 years old, maybe a bit older than that. So he is one of the biggest in terms of body that we've seen in a while. So this definitely seems to be the favorite marula tree, this one that he's standing next to. It feels like every day at this point we are seeing an elephant bull picking up marula fruits off the floor at this particular tree. So he's definitely at the age where he is going to be capitalizing on gaining as much weight as he can. Todd, my best way of answering that question for you is to give you a description with my hands, because it's going to be quite difficult to explain it size-wise. So a baby elephant's tracks can be about that big, quite small. Where a big male like this, his tracks are going to be very, very, very big. So much bigger than a dinner plate as opposed to a tiny little baby truck like this. So it is quite a large difference, and that's often how we can tell if we're tracking just a few bulls or a herd, is if you look for the tiny little baby tracks in between. So a few centimeters radius as opposed to many, many, many centimeters for him. Very big difference. At this age, this bull is actually just about to come into his prime, and you can see he's in excellent condition. And I actually would not be surprised if he starts fighting with other males very soon to try and win some mating rights. So you can see he's actually using the tip of his trunk to smell where the marula fruits are, as opposed to just using his eyesight. He's smelling along the floor and then picking up each fruit. So he's almost just rotating on the spot in a bit of a half circle, keeping his back legs planted, and then moving his front half around so that he can pick up all those different marula fruits. And this is a lot easier for him than knocking them out of the tree. And he's just going to be enjoying that nice sweet taste and the boost in vitamin C that he'll be getting from all of those fruits. But I'm going to spend a little bit more time with him and just see what he does. Maybe we'll get lucky and we might get to spend a lot of time with him.
So just sitting at the dam, really, it's so relaxing. Hoping to see a leopard soon. But even if we don't, just spending time at the dam is wonderful. Seeing what comes down, seeing what doesn't, looking at the birds, listening to the birds. And it just isn't raining. So we're just going to sit here for a moment or two. I'm going to keep my radio on and we're just going to listen to the sounds of the bush. Can never get enough of this, but we are going to bumble and see what else we can find.
So our elephant bull is still just enjoying these nice marula fruits on the floor. And he seems to be picking up quite a few at a time before he puts them into his mouth. And he hasn't eaten anything in between these bites of marula fruits, and I don't think I would either. They are so nice and sweet. And very important for him as he's going towards this season where most of them will be in must. So he'll need that strength, he'll need the stronger immunity, the vitamin C. Just a bit of a boost all around. My elephants eat a variety of different foods, so it's not just going to be marula fruits that he eats. He will eat things like leaves, branches, roots, a lot of different fruits, not just marulas, even some nuts, so the kernels of the marula fruits. Elephants have to have quite a diverse diet. You'll often find as well when we're out of marula season, when there's no actual fruits, they'll eat a lot of bark of the trees as well to try and get some roughage and some more fiber, but also to get some water in. So an elephant's diet is very different in different areas, and it's different elephant to elephant on what some of their favorites are. But they do need to eat as diverse of a diet as possible. So as many different things as they can, but all plants. They won't eat any meat. Definitely their favorite is marula fruits at this time of the year, but they'll eat a lot of different types of fruits and a lot of different types of plants. You must remember, for an elephant, it's quite difficult to get enough nutrients in, enough energy, because even though he's eaten almost every marula on the floor, probably 60% of those are going to come out completely whole. As they pass through his body, he won't actually digest about 60% of them. So he has to eat a lot of food because his digestive system doesn't work as efficiently as something like maybe a lion's, because there's a massive size difference. So their energy is different in their bodies, and the metabolism is different, and the structure is different. He's going to struggle to digest everything that he eats, especially if it's high in fiber. So he has to eat a lot more food than other animals just to make sure that his body is getting enough energy in. A big bull like him, he can eat 200 or 300 kilograms of food in one day. And that'll be made up of the marula fruits, the bark, the leaves, the grasses, roots, all sorts of different parts of the plants. And then, in the same day that he's eating all of that food, he'll produce maybe 150 kilograms of dung. Samantha, I agree. He's so gentle, he's so beautiful, and he's just been a delight this morning, calmly moving around, feeding, not worried about anything around him. It's lovely to be able to spend time with him. Oh wow, you can see the underside of his foot there. As I said that he moved it. I was hoping you'd be able to see the little cracks in the underside of his foot. But he certainly is structured quite differently. He looks like he's tall and thin with very oversized feet and undersized ears. Unusual elephant. So you might actually find that if you look at him and those long front legs, he might actually have an advantage to other bulls in terms of fighting and mating, now that we're coming into when most bulls are going into must. He might have a height advantage over other elephants for fighting, but at the same time, when he has to start mating, it might actually be easier for him than other elephants, because he is already so high up on the front. You might find the process might be easier for him. So maybe this is an advantage. Just want to spend a bit of time watching him and just taking it in. Damien, yes, in fact, they can communicate through vibrations. So those very plushy looking feet that he's got, that I was hoping you'd see the undersides, it's mostly a lot of fatty and cartilaginous tissue. He's actually walking on his tiptoes all the time. And what elephants can do is they can pick up on the vibrations through the soil, through that fatty section of their feet. The underside of their feet are very sensitive. So he could be communicating with an elephant kilometers away just by picking up on those vibrations. I'm going to have to move. Picking up on those vibrations through his feet. And we can't pick up on that because, one, we are not sensitive enough with our feet, but two, the frequency is so different to what we are used to that we wouldn't be able to pick up on it. So most of elephants' communications that we can notice are things like the rumble that they make or the trumpeting, occasional squeak here and there. Majority of an elephant's communication is at a frequency we cannot hear. It's too low. And that's why it travels through the ground and they can pick it up with their feet. So he might be communicating right now with other elephants and we would have no idea. Although it looks like he's feeding on the grass, he's still picking up marula fruits. He's actually looking like he's just starting to fill out quite nicely on the top of his forehead. So normally you can tell the age of an elephant from looking at the overall size, but also how muscular the forehead is. And he's actually got quite a pointed forehead. His forehead almost looks like a female's. They've got a bit of a square head. And he hasn't developed the very big layer of muscles from the temporals or the temples right the way around to the front of his forehead, which would give him a very rounded look. So I think he's just at Apologies everybody, we've had some technical difficulties, but we are back and we are bumbling along quarantine at the moment. Our elephant bull finished every marilla fruit on the floor and decided it was time to move off towards the drainage line close to Gowrie Dam. So while he has gone that way, I'm actually going to go around and check towards Treehouse Dam just to see if we can find anything along there. We could not find any tracks of Cara, we haven't found any tracks of the lions yet, and so the next best bet is to go and check the water holes to see if they may have crossed somewhere that we didn't notice, or maybe further south, and come towards a watering hole. So that is where I am headed at the moment. Oh, the wind is picking up, I've had to put my jersey on. It is really getting quite chilly at the moment. And interestingly enough, we have not seen any impalas up on quarantine. No wildebeest, no kudu. I think everybody's hiding this morning, except the elephant bulls. The elephant bulls seem to be out and about looking for marula fruits. There are lots of impala tracks here, so I know where they were at some point during the night. Definitely moved since then. You can hear a bit of a tapping noise every now and then. It's actually just the rain covers that are blowing around in the wind a bit. But hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. Some hyena tracks here, that's exciting. So it seems as though almost every day we've been finding hyena tracks coming from quarantine down towards Taxon's Road, Treehouse Dam, Philemon's Cut Line. I'm wondering where the rest of the clan is. Maybe they are using one of the old den sites in this area. I know Lauren has been checking them and we haven't found a new den site yet, but maybe we'll get lucky, we'll never know. Okay, I'm going to go down towards Philemon's Dip and just spend a little bit of time listening into the drainage line, and hopefully I might hear something exciting that I can show you.
We're just sitting admiring the views. The heavy clouds, the wind, but it's beautiful. It's green, every shade of green you could ever imagine. Right in front of us. Stunning. Even those windy, overcast days you have to appreciate. So we're just going to sit here for a moment or two and do exactly that. Standing by.
Yeah, you can make your way in. I'll make space.
Copy, thank you. We are going to Bumble now. When you do get called, you must go. Otherwise you miss your spot. It's all very serious. So we're just going to navigate. I will need a little bit of time, FC, to navigate into this siding, I'm afraid. It's a busy siding with a cup, so I will just need a little bit of time to do so. It's always exciting making your way to a siding. Hello, how are you? Okay, thank you. Lucky you. Did you get a photo? Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I know that. Oh dear. Bye guys. Sorry everyone. I'm just going to concentrate a little bit. I've been told to watch out for the tree stumps. And that's come from Dylan Leo Smith. So if that comes from Dylan, then it must be serious. Okay, OD, are you looking out for the tree stumps? I happen to be 5'2" with a booster seat underneath my bottom. Trishala used to use 2. I just use 1. But it's actually not enough. Did you get those comms, OD? What was that? Oh. Oh my goodness. Oh, OD, can you get that without... Hello, Kuchava. Don't you look beautiful? You love a log, don't you? Sorry, it's quite difficult to navigate around with the vehicles. The cub is here, the man to one. I just don't know where. Can you see cub? The cub is here, the man to one. I just don't know where. Can you see cub? Backwards because of the pole. Or do you want me to go forwards? Forward, left hand.
Left hand forward.
Left hand, reverse. How is this? There we go. Sorry, I'm also trying to be cautious not to just
Number 1 for this Ingwe with this Mantwan.
bombard everyone's shot. We probably will reposition in a moment, but for now at least we've got a view of Kuchava. We're on the very southern side of Chitwa. Luckily she came back north. Sandy, you're saying, yay, we have some spots. I know, ×2. I just don't know where the second one is yet, but ×2. The daughter is here for sure. And that's why I just navigated in really slowly. 1, Dylan warned me about stumps, but 2, there's a cub here. There's 3 vehicles. You just got to drive really, really slowly. Take your time. I've been lucky with Kuchava. Are you happy, Owen? Owen's happy. I'm guessing the cub will bound and appear, jump on Mama's head at some point. And for those of you that maybe don't know Kuchava, Kuchava is Tandy's daughter. Tlalamba's sister, I guess, half-sister. And she's a lovely leopardess. But her territory sort of extends Torchwood, Chitwa, Cheetah Plains. Not so much touching into Nkoro, but further down south she's often found at that Mala Mala boundary. It's found around Jackie Sabi House. So she's only really viewable to us on Gowrie Main or Chitwa. But she's just absolutely stunning. And in my opinion, and you are welcome to disagree with me, you just look at Kuchava and you immediately know Tandy. It's all in the eyes. I think Tlalamba doesn't have that. I think Tlalamba's eyes are more like Tunkana's. And the cub's the exact same. The cub just looks like mommy. The spots have been few and far between this stint, but when they've been around, my goodness, they've been around. Tlalamba, cubs, and Kuchava. and a little one. And I mean, Kuchava's father was confirmed to be Mvula by Panthera DNA. So that's one that we can conclusively say. They are redoing that whole scat analysis again. They're starting from scratch. Fresh scat. Connor, the cub is a female. So females sort of go independent earlier than males when it comes to leopards. And that's because they have it easier, really. They get a sort of section of mom's territory. They stay within their natal area. They don't have to explore, they don't have to disperse, then explore, then set up a territory like males do. So they have a little bit easier, and therefore, in terms of movement, I guess it's not easier to become a mother, but it's normally around 18 months. But that's just a sort of average figure. We have seen cubs go to independence a lot earlier than that, but the average sort of figure is 18 months for a female cub. I just don't actually know where the cub is. But I mean, either way, we've got spots. Spots make me happy. Emily, you're asking, will a cub fight its mother for territory? I mean, I think I sort of did just touch on that. A male disperses. They leave their natal area, generally speaking, to get out of their father's territory and go and set up their own territory. This is also a biological drive to find a new sort of pool of females. And the females are given a section of their territory by their mother. It's better to have your offspring and your bloodline next door to you than an enemy. But there will always be that push and pull factor. I think Tandy's shift east was due to Tlalamba's expansion. It was just a natural flow of things. It wasn't Tlalamba pushing her mum out, no. It was just a natural sort of territorial movement. And Tlalamba's expansion sort of just made her mother push a little bit more east. I mean, Tandy always covered into Torchwood, but she's gone a little bit further east. Territories are very dynamic. They're not static in any way, shape, or form. But they don't fight their mother, no. They don't. They may have clashes or encounters with their mother, but they're not going to fight their mother, Emily, for territory. I think we're falling fast asleep here. It's amazing to think that there's another leopard there. And we can't see it. The grass is so long. It's probably curled up in the grass. I can see people pointing their camera in a different direction. I think the cub's further to the north. When we get a moment, we are going to reposition. There's enough space. I always try and look where other people are looking to get an indication. Yeah. Yeah, the cub's further north. Okay, now I at least know. We'll try and see if we can get a view of it. A view of her, sorry. There's a wonderful sort of chapter in the book. It's not about the bats, about gender of animals and how you should refer to their gender or their sort of way of being. And it's fascinating, the science behind it. So we are going to try and reposition here to try and get a better view of Kochava's daughter.
So if the rain itself wasn't enough to tell us that it's raining, we have noticed 2 hinged tortoises this morning, really small, crossing the roads very quickly. And that is always a good sign that it's either going to rain or already raining somewhere close by. Tortoises, when you see them crossing the road and you find more than one, it's always a good sign that it's going to rain. They'll try and move just before it rains to try and get to areas where they can get nice water, but not where they would get absolutely flooded. So they tend to be a lot more active just before the rain. But I have gone past Treehouse Dam very quickly. It was very, very, very windy up on the dam wall, so we decided to move. We're now on Gowrie Main. And we're just slowly headed towards Twin Dams Road because I want to go and check some of the smaller roads off of the drainage lines there. And just see if we might get lucky. I think as animals are starting to shelter for the day, the ones that we're looking for are going to be gravitating towards the thickets along the edges of the drainage line to get some shelter. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we do get lucky with that. One of my books just slid off the seat. It gave me a bit of a fright. Wow, there's quite a cloud bank. I don't know if we'll be able to get that actually. Because of the rain roof, I'm not going to stop for long, but you can just see there's quite a cloud bank building. We can't really go much higher than that, and the clouds are moving very, very fast, coming from south up towards the north. So I definitely think our day is just going to get more and more rainy as we go. But it's quite a beautiful scene. You can see the horizon is actually quite misty from where the rain is coming down. A nice steady thick drizzle. This is perfect for the predators today. That being said, it would help if we actually found some, I think.
We've got a little bit of a better view of Kochava. But I really don't know where the cub is. It's here somewhere. I just can't see any signs of the daughter. She's stunning. There's just something about seeing... I mean, leopards are Marula's best accessory, even better than the fruit. But there's something about seeing a leopard on a fallen over log of any tree type, because it's fallen, it's eye level. It's that dark bark against that striking sort of white, creamy yellow coat. Ah. Look at those back legs. Yeah. Chubby. Chubby legs. She's stunning. To be honest, I don't know a leopard that's not stunning. Leopard lover, good to hear from you. And you're saying I just made your Australia Day? Is it Australia Day today? My goodness. I didn't know that. I do apologize. I just made your Australia Day complete. I should know that. Darby's half Australian. Happy Australian Day. And now you have Kuchava, and hopefully the cub soon. I just want the cub to come bounding out. It's not shy, it's obviously just exploring and maybe up a tree or sniffing something. No, she's tired. This is resting time for leopards, remember? Ewald, I think. You're saying, wow, what a beauty. It's perfect. Almost. If you think Shadulu's got cubs, stashed at Simbambili Dam. Tlalamba's got cubs. Kuchava has cubs. I'm not sure about Sibui. She has been seen mating. I haven't had an update on her of late. But there are a lot of leopard cubs around. The new generation. Look at those eyes. Look at those paws though. So for a petite leopardess, they're not small. Not by a long shot. See, she's got that Tandy stare. It'd be nice to hear her chuffing. I think chuffing is a most wonderful sound a leopard can make. It's lovely when they're communicating with their offspring. It's subtle. And that's how the cub knows its mum.
Take over and control. Thank you, I'll take it. Untime's moved away though, hey? Only good for some fuzzy.
Looks like we might not get a view of the cub today. But yes, it's a contact call, it's communication, and that's how the cub knows mum, through scent and through vocalization, not necessarily visual. It's not necessarily visual. It's not necessarily that the cub sees mom and goes, "Ah, it's mom." You see, sometimes even with the hyenas, when you watch them at the den, it's very similar. They see a hyena approaching, but they're waiting for that cue. They're waiting to know, oh, it's mom, through scent or through audio, the contact call, that little chuff sound. They know it's mom. I didn't catch that name. I think someone's asking why leopards are more active than lions. Not necessarily. Depends on how much they've eaten, really. If a leopard fills themselves like lions do, they also won't be active. Oh. Whoa, FC, there's crazy beeping in the radio. FC, I'm not sure if you're there. The radio was going out of control. I don't know if you're still there. Okay, I'm guessing they are still there. Gabby is not necessarily the case. They're different in their social structure. So lions do tend to take down bigger prey cooperatively. Buffalo, zebra, and therefore they'll sort of just sit around for a long time with the carcass until they get their fill. And they really gorge themselves. And actually, leopards actually do the same. They'll gorge themselves. They're far smaller than lions, especially female leopards are very petite, and they are solitary. So they live a lifestyle where they don't have a bunch of other leopards looking out for them. If they go into a deep sleep, well, trouble could sneak up on them. So they also need to have the ability to be able to spring into action. Now remember, Kuchava is mobile this morning. It's cool, it's overcast, it's not that hot. She's obviously just moving with her daughter. It's not necessarily the case that they are more active than lions. It's just they have different lifestyles, different social structures, and generally leopards tend to feed on smaller animals, and they do hoist, of course. A lot of the time, not all of the time. I've watched lions kill an impala cooperatively, all have a little bit, and then immediately they're super active. That's not necessarily the case, Gabby. You can just fall right into those eyes. I don't think we'll be able to stay in this sighting until the end of drive, but we are going to try to enjoy it and just cross all our fingers and toes if the little daughter comes back to sneak up on mum. There's a nice breeze. They are nocturnal. They've probably been busy all night long, and this really is a perfect time for leopards to fall asleep, really. Catch up on a snooze. It's the perfect weather for us to fall asleep as well. Not too hot, not too cold. It's exactly the same for them. Hopefully she'll be around this afternoon, but they are in the middle of a block. I don't have a map of Chitwa, I'm afraid. So I'm not able to show you exactly where they are, but they're close to the southern boundary. And Tandi, Klalamba, Java, they're all aware of each other. They all know that Tandi's their mom. But it's sort of the ebb and flow, the natural movement of life out here. It really benefits Tandi to be surrounded by her daughters, even although they don't share kills and they're not exactly friends. They don't go for high tea together. But it benefits her. They're not going to harm one another, whereas another female leopard, for example, Shidulu or even Sabui, that's a different case. They're not related. And that's where danger lies. I used to go quite into depth with the territory maps, and it was always interesting looking at where elephants are moving. Leopards moving, the ebb and flow, the movement of where they. But just be careful. Sorry about that, everyone. Don't quite know what happened, but you're back with us. And we will pull out of this sighting shortly. Oh, I'm sad we didn't get to see the cub. But at least we got to spend time with Kuchava. We're leaving in 5 minutes. Sorry, I was just communicating with Dylan. Oh, I need to take a photo of him. This is a precious moment. Dylan's giant face behind Kuchava's head. You gotta love it. But we will leave in 5 minutes. People do want to come and see Kuchava, of course, and it's now just a Mufazi sighting. Sorry, he's making me laugh. You make great friendships out here, that's for sure. That's one thing I miss when I'm away. It's not just the animals, it's also the friendships. Bush babe, you think she likes the attention? I think she's just found the perfect sleeping spot. It's cool, probably slightly damp. There was a bit of a drizzle. There's a breeze coming through. I think she's thought, I found the perfect sleeping spot. Why are all these people watching me? But you know, Kushava used to be very shy. And that's where the name stems from. She wasn't always this confident female leopard. And now she's just turned into this absolute beauty. So hopefully we'll maybe have a few more minutes left with Kuchava, but what a wonderful sighting it has been.
I am on my favorite road, Nyala Road South, and I'm weaving along the edge of the drainage line looking for any animals. I am hoping we're going to get a little bit of bird life as well because of the drainage line, but so far it doesn't seem like there is much. Luckily we have got a bit of a break in the rain where we are, so it's nice and pleasant. It's a bit warmer here than it has been in other places, and so we're just taking it nice and slow to have a look what we can find. So it seems like even all of the little pan systems, I love the pan systems along the Yala Road, and even those are very quiet this morning. Animals don't seem to be moving too much today. Very rocky road. So this is one of my favorite spots to stop and have a listen, and that's exactly what I want to do. Actually, a little bit further back for that. There we go. So here I'm nice and high up and I'm looking down into the drainage line, and I just want to listen in case we can hear anything. I can hear some grey-headed bush shrikes, which is wonderful. Very typical for this area along the edge of the drainage line to hear those bush shrikes. But I think I am going to spend a little bit more time here just having a listen in case we do hear anything else.
We're going to stay here for a few more minutes, just give you some last views of Kuchava. I have a funny feeling she's going to get mobile soon anyway. She's yawned multiple times, stretching, grooming, spreading the bean toes. I love it when they do that. She's a nice mixture of mommy and daddy, I think. And Vula was a handsome leopard, quite distinguished in his looks.
Close down for coffee, yeah.
Sorry, Kuchava. That's the radio. Someone's having coffee. And sadly, it's not me. I finished all mine. Oh. There we go. That was a bit of a half yawn, but it's better than nothing. thought so. She's on the move. Stuffing. I hope you all heard that, Jeff. Is she right behind the pole, Owen? Are you loving that? She's a polecat. Delicious grass. Daisy, you're on the ball straight away. Leopards do eat grass. She's not a vegan, I promise. That I can promise you. But grass out here acts for a lot of the predators, same as domestic animals. My dog used to eat a lot of grass when sometimes it acts as a natural laxative. Can you hear that? She's calling the cup. But we're gonna send you guys over to Tessa. Can paint them.
Oh, I am going to be 100% honest and tell you I am jealous of Lauren this morning. Chava is my favorite leopard girl, and I haven't met her cub yet. Oh, maybe I'll try this afternoon. Wow, she's such a gorgeous girl. And her cub looks like the splitting image of her with the very thick panels under her eyes. Wow. Okay, I'm actually just coming through one of the main drainage lines. It's actually called Giraffe Crossing, if I'm not mistaken. On Central Road, heading back towards Gowrie Dam, just having a look if we have got any other tracks of animals coming through. We really have been struggling to find a lot of the insects and bird life this morning. The weather is not playing ball with us. We have found a few hyena tracks, those kinds of things, but nothing else so far. I'm hoping we're going to get lucky with maybe some more elephants towards Gowrie Dam, possibly up on quarantine. For now, it seems like we are tracking and appreciating some of the greenery. I was actually doing a bit of research last night on some of the different traditional uses of trees. Jake, I don't think we've had any natural disasters here in the recent years. I know there have been a few fires. There was a fire close by not so long ago. The bush recovers really well from that, and the bush itself can protect from that. But it just depends on the season. So for example, if you're in the dry season and there's a natural fire, it's going to burn through much quicker than it would now because the grass is dry, the leaves are dry. So it's better fuel for the fire. It's not as wet. At the moment, I mean, there are some natural fire breaks that were cut a few years ago. That might help. But I mean, we haven't had anything recently, and the bush tends to recover pretty easily. It is actually quite important to have natural fires in the area because a lot of animals, and especially the smaller ones, so things like some termite species, some butterfly species, and a lot of ant species, actually rely on the natural fires to kickstart their life cycle. So it can actually help in terms of reproducing. But those species, you can imagine, are a lot more rare than the ones that we see all the time. So I think it depends on the area. You know, here we're much more prone to things like veld fires or natural fires than we are to any other natural disaster. But we do have flooding. We do have the occasional serious windstorm. We know that I think there's a cyclone coming towards the eastern part of the country, and we have been feeling a bit of the effects of that, it seems anyway, with wind and rain. But the bush is very resilient, and what's really sad is majority of the time what causes these fires is not actually just a lightning strike, which absolutely it can, but it's actually more people that are causing these fires. So unfortunately we do have to try and control that as much as possible. Well, it looks like we do have a hippo in Gowrie Dam. Stop here so we can have a look. Tap drainage lines will get their names from usually the original people that were here in the area. So sometimes they're named after people if they had a favorite drainage line. Sometimes they're named after the prominent trees or tributaries that might come into it from other properties. It really just depends. Sometimes it will be named after the dam that might be upstream from the drainage line. So it really does depend, drainage line to drainage line at this point. At least we finally found some bird life, everybody. Gert, we've got a hyena chasing impalas. It's hunting impalas in front of us, everybody. It's just come chasing down from the clearing, chasing an impala lamb. It missed, and now it's chasing one of the adult males. Oh my goodness, I have not seen a hyena move. Oh, there it goes back on the other side. I've not seen a hyena move that quickly in a long time. It's going after a tiny lamb. The lamb has now just come down to the water's edge. That was crazy. The lamb is going that way, and the hyena's just up on the clearing here behind the brush. There it comes. It's following the lamb. Oh no, the lamb's in the dam. The lamb's just fallen into the dam, Gert, right at the top. Oh my goodness, the dam, right at the top end. The impala lamb's in it. Can you get it, Gert? It's up right on the top. The impala is, oh my word, it's struggling to swim. And the hyena's just coming into the bank there. I think it's trying to find a way into the water. Maybe it didn't notice the lamb. The lamb is right on the top end. Oh, sorry, the rain roof is getting in the way. Hyena, what are you looking for? So the lamb is still in the water right at the top end. It seems to be standing, so it seems to be okay. There you can see it turning its head a little bit. Very clever to come into the water, but of course it doesn't know if there's going to be crocodiles in here. Oh, here comes the hyena. Okay, so I'll keep an eye on the lamb. It seems to be safe there. The hyena is up and down on the dam wall, still hunting. Goodness gracious, what is happening? This makes me feel like there might be wild dogs around. But at the same time, it could just be this hyena trying its best to hunt. So hyenas hunt a lot more than we think, everybody, and this is in broad daylight. Okay, our lamb is still nice and relaxed in the water, so I will keep an eye on that, but I just want to try and figure out what is happening. Right, I can't see the hyena anymore, or has it gone backwards? I'm trying to identify the hyena. It looked almost like it could have been Swazi from the marking on the sides, but I'll check. The lamb is coming out of the water again now. There you can see it. It got the fright of its life. It must have been chased down right the way up from quarantine because it came up from the clearing. And very clever, the adults disappeared and this little one ran straight into the water to get away from the hyena. That's just saved this impala lamb's life. I'm hoping it is going to get out of the water at some point so it can start warming up again. But now the bigger issue is it's going to need to find a way to get back to the rest of the herd. Oh my goodness, my heart is racing. Has the hyena gone? We can't see it anymore. I think it's disappeared into the drainage line so quickly. But let's just watch what this lamb does for now. Maybe the hyena's going to come back. I'm sure it'll try and find a way to come back and see where that impala lamb's going. This is still a very small lamb, everybody. This is one of what we would call the Laat lammetjies in South Africa, born a month later than the others. That's why the hyena took advantage, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm going to stick around and just see what happens with this little baby and see if the hyena comes back. And in the meantime, I'll send you over to Lauren with Kachava and Cub.
We will have to leave now, unfortunately, everyone. We've been with the cub a little while and we've been in this sighting a little while. But she called the cub out and it was such a nice little reunion. And look at this little thing. You are just too cute. Yes, why are you so cute? She suckled for a bit and they're now just lying next to each other, falling asleep. I've been really lucky this stint with leopard cubs. I've had some wonderful, wonderful lion cub sightings, but leopard has been a winner, and I'm determined to find Klalamba one more time before I go. The cub's quite pale in colour in comparison to Mom. But we definitely won't stay here for too long. But isn't that chuffing sound just beautiful? That sound where it calls the cub. Cub understands that's Mom, Mom understands cub, and it's a communication channel. Leopards are fantastic mothers, genuinely fantastic mothers. Yes, they leave their cubs for long bouts at a time, but they have to. Always checking where is cub, always contact calling. Always gone off for food for them. Was not very ladylike, Kutava. It was worth the wait. We actually had to wait around quite a fair bit, but I have to say it's definitely worth the wait. It isn't until you see the cub next to the mom that you see how small they really are. Okay, we are gonna leave. Oh, look, look, look. Can we just hold on 2 more seconds? Look at that. And that was a cute moment we were waiting on, everyone. So we are going to pull out of this sighting now. But we're going to give you just a little minute more. Look at that little face. What a wonderful morning this has been, everybody. Again.
Okay, so our little impala lamb got out of the end of the dam and disappeared into the thickets. So I want to go up and see what is happening on quarantine, where they came from. See where the herd is, if there might be anything else along there. And just see if we can get an update on what on earth caused all of that. I don't know if it was just the hyena hunting or if it was something else. Maybe chased the impalas and the hyena took advantage. Worth checking out. So I'm bumbling up towards the clearing now. That was absolutely crazy. The hyena's disappeared, so we can't see it anymore. From the age of it, maybe Novella, maybe Swazi. We didn't see a clear view because it was running so fast. Right, let's see what we've got. So far, I'm not seeing any tracks other than the hyena jetting down that way, along the road. I'm seeing some fairly relaxed impalas up here. I think the hyena was just taking advantage. Definitely. Maybe there was a little impala lamb that was sleeping in the grass and the hyena sniffed it out and it ran. I'm going to stop here. We seem to have quite a bit of activity. So we've got a whole herd of impalas here and they all look very relaxed. Very, very relaxed. I wonder where that poor little lamb came from. Maybe if we watch for a bit longer, we can piece some more pieces of the puzzle together. So I'm thinking what may have happened is that lamb was still very, very young. And potentially mom had hidden it in one of the thickets up here on quarantine because the herd itself is very relaxed. None of them are looking as though they have lost anybody except for one female who is looking downwards but still feeding. And she's looking towards the dam. So I'm thinking maybe because this little lamb was so young still, or is so young still, it was being hidden away from the elements, nice and safe, and perhaps the hyena just came along and managed to bump into the lamb through scent. And of course, natural instinct means the impala lamb ran, It ran straight down the road into the clearing and then into the dam. And the hyena actually couldn't get in there, so the hyena left. On the right hand side, next to I think it's a false marula. So this doesn't mean that that's necessarily the impala that has lost her lamb, but it could be, considering she's walking and calling. The lamb did get out of the water, so it moved into the thickets, which is great news because it can hide itself. But the problem now is that, one, it doesn't have the protection of the herd. Two, it got very wet. It pretty much went underwater. So it's going to be cold today, and it's cold outside, so it won't dry off quickly. It's still raining. And three, it doesn't have mother's milk. And at this stage, it's still fully dependent on mother's milk. So it is going to be an interesting day to see what happens. I'm sure the impala lamb will emerge just now from the thickets, and hopefully it'll hear the impalas up here and make its way back. But it is quite a dangerous situation, especially being so young and so inexperienced. So it actually did very well to throw itself into the dam, obviously not knowing if there were crocodiles in there or not. Elizabeth, it's a tricky question to answer. Yes and no. If it was up here on quarantine and she'd seen the direction it disappeared in and she didn't think it was too far, yes, she would search for it, she would call with it or call for it as the herd moves, but she wouldn't want to stray too far away. So having seen it just disappear into the thickets, if she can't hear the lamb calling, she won't be able to stray far enough away from the herd to go and look for it and bring it back. So the lamb is going to have to be calling or hearing them and then calling back for her to go and look for it and bring it back to the herd. So it really will depend on the distance at the time. But it will be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure the dam cam will capture where the impala lamb ends up going. At the moment it's just stuck in the thickets, or it's stuck itself in the edge of the dam in those thickets there. So as the day wears on, I'm sure that our zoomies will be looking for where the impala lamb comes out, and maybe to see if the hyena comes back. So from the brief glimpse that we had, it looked like a fairly young hyena, possibly somebody like Novella, maybe Swazi, although I didn't see a very clear comet shape on the side like Swazi has. But it happened so quickly that we were just trying to follow the action, never mind trying to identify the hyena. But they are looking very calm considering. That's why I'm thinking, because it was what we call a lat lammetjie, because it's a lamb that was born maybe a full month after the rest, if not 2 months, it was hiding somewhere off to the edge of the herd. So the herd didn't freak out, panic, alarm call, run away. The herd is still looking very relaxed, so maybe it was hidden a little distance away just to keep it safe. We have got a nice big elephant bull coming to join our impalas at the moment. Looking a little bit unrelaxed, possibly smelling the hyenas and heard the commotion. So ears out, trunk forward, sniffing. I think just trying to make an evaluation on what is going on. And this is our same elephant bull from earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Very long front legs. He's moved away from his favorite marula tree. Yes, definitely the same elephant. So he is looking a little bit unrelaxed, and I'm sure that's because of the commotion that went down. He could have heard it and he's still smelling the hyena. But we're going to stick around and just see where he goes and what happens. So he is looking unrelaxed. He's not so happy with us being here. And that's just because he might feel threatened after all the commotion. I'm going to see if I can roll back. Come on, Rusty. Oh, no. I was hoping I could just roll back silently, but alas, I was mistaken. Okay, I will stop like that and just see he is moving quite quickly in the opposite direction. Found another tree to stand under, but this one is actually an apple leaf, so there's no marula fruits for him there. I wonder if he's not going to head down to the dam just now. So you can imagine all the animals up here this morning are probably feeling a bit nervous, considering there was a leopard here last night. Now there's been hyena commotion. So I'm sure that's why they're a bit unrelaxed. Okay, he is slowly headed down towards the clearing of the dam. Straight past Timbeta House. He's moving very quickly, so he's not as relaxed as he was earlier, that's for sure. Okay. We are going to come back towards our impalas and see if we can get a little bit of a better idea of what might have happened if there's other predators around now that our elephant bull has left. I have been checking for tracks. I don't see any tracks of any other animals. So let's just sit with the impalas for a bit. Try and figure out if there's anything else going on that we didn't notice earlier. Very strange. Predator mornings when it's nice and cool. Definitely predator mornings.
What a morning. It was worth it. It was worth the wait, everyone. We waited around quite a long time because she was hovering. Well, not literally hovering, but she was hovering on the boundary line of Chitwa and Annette's. Annette's is a property south. So when she's in Annette's, that's not a property that we traverse, so it's not something that we can just go and view. But the minute she sort of stepped her paws back into Chitwa, we could view. It was worth the wait, just sitting by the dam, being in radio comms. We have an etiquette here that you always check your own property first. So our drive starts at 5:30 South African time, and if we were on Chitwa at 5:30, that would be very considered rude. So it's always nice to sort of do your loop at the Dahin a Den, to the cut line and then, of course, the guys on the east will tell you what is happening. Just having a little chat about which direction to drive. No worries. So yes, it was amazing to see her. Thank you, Owen. But unfortunately, she was moving south again, which is going back down to Annette's. But you never know what that means for this afternoon. And I know Tessa really wants to see her in Cup, but we're going to send you over to Tessa for now.
Okay, so we are back with our impalas. We have identified who we think is the mother of the lamb. She is off to the side and calling just next to the rain roof bar, unfortunately. But she is calling and facing down towards the dam, so she might have seen the commotion happening. and she's looking very nervous. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the mom. And hopefully the lamb is going to hear her calling. Oh, Nadia, I'm so happy that you enjoyed it. We certainly had quite a bit of different stuff today. And it seems that we got a lot of action, especially now towards the end. What a delight to have Kuchava and cub. And then a hyena hunting. Very unusual. Normally that happens at night and we don't normally see it. So that was a first for me, seeing a hyena streaming down from the other side of the bank with a little impala lamb running for its life. But it looks like majority of the herd is definitely still nice and relaxed up here. So I don't think there's any other predators. I really do think that the hyena just came along and noticed a smaller impala lamb, maybe slightly separated, and took the advantage of that situation and really just decided now's the time. Now's the time for some breakfast. So that impala lamb, we will try and update you a little bit later to see what's happening. But when we left, it had gotten out of the dam. But we're not sure what will happen from here, having been wet and being away from the herd. But it certainly looks like everybody up here is nice and relaxed, and I think they're going to be here this afternoon again when we come back and check. So I think then we'll be able to give you a better update on what might be around. But thank you again for joining us this morning. It was absolutely wonderful to spend the time with you and share all of our wonderful things with you this morning. I think especially Kuchava and Cub and our hyena friend right at the end. We are looking forward to seeing you this afternoon, so please come and join us, and hopefully we'll be able to update you on what happened this morning and find some new things too.